Rick Grenell joining us now, Senior Advisor for National Security and Foreign Policy, former Acting Director, National Intelligence. Rick, you've got a new piece up at ACLJ.org. It literally just posted. The title is Joe Biden and Germany give a green light to Putin's aggression. We just heard in the break, for people who are watching online, they saw that they're talking about the space issue and this test that has caused a mess there. But there's also, back here on Earth, real problems with Russian aggression. It looks like now a buildup on Ukraine's border. But talk about Germany's role, too, because you were also the ambassador to Germany.
Look, we all can see this, Jordan. Russia has been unleashed, and they feel like the Biden administration has just rolled over. I mean, we've, in the Trump administration, tried to stop this pipeline, Nord Stream 2 pipeline, gas into Europe. And it's always important to tell people that Nord Stream 1, the United States was okay with, but Nord Stream 2 went too far. And the reason we say that is because Europe needs to be careful that they're not getting an over reliance on Russia. And Nord Stream 2 does that. It allows Putin not only to have a gas pipeline into Germany, the largest economy in Europe, but it really is a pipeline of influence. And the rest of Europe doesn't like it, but the Germans have put themselves in a position where they need it. I think it's outrageous that the German government is allowing this to happen. They claim to be pro-Europe. But I have to say this, Jordan, this is a controversial statement, but when you look around the world, the biggest mess of the world, all of the crises, all of the problems seems to be in Europe these days. And so I would put this 100% to blame on the Germans, who are the leader and the largest economy, but have really had a Germany first model and not a Europe first model. And so the rest of Europe is really experiencing lots of problems because of Russia and because of Germany's weakness. And the Biden team is not even noticing.
I mean, when Russia is building up it's got 100,000 troops again on the border of Ukraine. We've already seen them take this action before under the Obama years with Crimea. But you would think that these other major players in Europe, like Germany and other countries, would come together and say, there's things that might be in our interest, like you said, but we've got to, if we're going to move forward with any of this, we've got to be able to counter this aggression. And instead, it looks like the world is just looking the other way. I mean, there's some news reports on it, but it doesn't seem to be that anybody's going to come to Ukraine's defense.
Well, let's also remember that the rewriting of the European borders when Crimea was taken by Putin, that happened under Barack Obama and Joe Biden as vice president. And so now in the Biden presidency, we're seeing Russia on the rise again. The same person that has been around during the rise of Russia and the Russian offense has been Joe Biden when he was vice president and now when he's president. And so I think that we've got to be very careful the messages that the Biden team is sending out to the world. It certainly looks like Putin is taken the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, put it in his pocket, and he's off to the races to even collect more trophies. And we've got to be able to stand up to him. Certainly we can't rely on Europe alone. We're going to have an administration that pushes back, and I don't see that happening. And this is hopefully an alarm sounding. I want to say one good thing, which is Senator Ted Cruz is not giving up. He's a fighter. He is looking for ways to make sure that the pipeline is not opened up. It looks like it's over, but he's still not giving up. And thank God for Ted Cruz.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, because it puts future administrations, it hamstrings their ability to move forward. And also, I mean, can this be corrected? Because we're seeing it time and time again. We see both Russia and China. Seems like they both feel like this is the time to take their most aggressive action internationally.
Well, one of the things that's the most galling to me is to hear for 4 years the Democratic Party slam the Trump administration for being too close to Putin and to have this, Russian collusion hoax narrative. And now what we see is that the Trump administration was quite tough on Putin. We certainly didn't give him a Nord Stream 2 pipeline, It's the Biden administration, it's the Democrats that have completely caved to Putin, even going so far as to say that the Hunter Biden laptop, which was found to be a cache of information about the the Biden family's ties to China, that whole thing was labeled Russian disinformation. They blamed all of the Hunter Biden laptop information on Russia. That is not true. And the White House press corps needs to be able to hold the Biden team to account here. Russia is clearly the topic that they'd like to talk about, but certainly they don't take any action.
I wanted to play this sound from the summit last night between President Biden and President Xi in China. Rick, and get your reaction. Byte 24. This is President Xi.
A sound and steady China-US relationship is required for advancing our two countries' respective development and for safeguarding a peaceful and stable international environment, including finding effective responses to global challenges such as climate change, which you referenced, and the COVID pandemic.
So right there, Rick, we hear the word consensus there from China. There was not a lot of takeaway from this summit. A lot of action items. We know that the government, we acknowledge the genocide going on there, but then it's again, as President Xi said, this is his old friend, and he seems happy to be dealing with the Biden administration, who's not really pushing back at all on.
And China gets to spin things like they want to help on the global pandemic of COVID-19. I mean, the whole COVID-19, as our U.S. intelligence agencies told us, COVID-19 started in Wuhan, and then the cover-up from the Chinese happened, and the UN didn't do anything about it. And then let's talk about climate change. I mean, the reality is that China is the real problem. They aren't doing anything. They go to the Paris Accord and make a couple of pronouncements, but are not held to account. The Biden team, meanwhile, is shutting down manufacturing in the United States, shutting down pipelines over climate change. And yet they're not understanding that if we're going to have a global agreement on climate change, then the first step is India and China are going to have to start doing something first. I just think that this rhetoric from China, which is all baloney, and yet it seems to be landing with the Biden administration, and they're accepting the rhetoric as reality. And the Chinese rhetoric is not reality. And somebody in Washington needs to shake the Biden team and say, wake up. You've been outsmarted by Russia and China, and this has got to stop.